Hello, hello, hello. What's up? I guess I'm live now. Yeah, I think I'm finally live. And sorry for the delay, guys. I was planning to start the live stream at 7 p.m., but I realized I forgot to create the thumbnail for the live stream. So I had to make a thumbnail on the go. It's just AI generated thumbnail, but yeah, there are other things too. And yeah, it's my fault. Sorry for the delay. Why does it say no data here? Let me cross check if my stream is actually running. You guys just let me know immediately in the comments if you face any issues with the stream, because yeah, you know that I don't stream very often, so pretty much new to this. Oh, I can see people commenting. Hey, welcome to the stream, guys. Jagadish, Chandan, Fraser Studio, Kalyan, Syed, Krishna. Welcome to the stream. And I apologize for the bad camera quality, because I don't have the lighting setup right now, because I'm in India for the summer vacation, so I did not bring my setup with me, so apologies for the bad. What's happening? Well, we were going to hack the box machines together. So I want this to be like a interactive stream, if you know what I mean. I want it to I want you guys to tell me what to do next, right? Because yeah, so we were basically going to hack the box machines. What are we hacking today? We're going to hack the box machines. We're obviously not going to hack any live applications. I don't want to get arrested. FBI, open up. So we're just going to wait until 7:30, and then we're going to start doing our thing from 7:30, because I've scheduled this live stream for 7:30, so I'm going to start the actual live stream for 7:30. That's not illegal. Well, it depends. It really depends on the company, but yeah, we're going to do some hack the box machines today. It's going to be a relatively short stream, maybe 2 or 3 hack the box machines for this live stream. But if this live stream does well, I'm going to keep doing this more often. This is just basically like a trial, to see how it goes. So if this goes well, I'm going to keep doing it once a week. So yeah, it's going to be a relatively short stream, maybe an hour or 2 maximum, 2 to 3 hack the box machines, and then I'm out. And yeah, this is also going to be like a really good learning experience for you guys, because you guys can give me suggestions and we can learn together. Do live bug bounty? No, I don't think I'm gonna do that now. Maybe in the future, because I don't really know the legalities, for doing that kind of stuff. So I just don't want to get in trouble. That's all I wanted to say. There was a climate disaster in Kerala. How is it now? I don't live in Kerala. I live in Andhra Pradesh. But yeah, I've seen it in the news, and yeah, it's really bad. I really wish best for the families there that are affected. How do you do the Fox? You mean this thing over here? That's basically, it's just a script. Let me show you. So you can basically write some script inside your bash RC. So you can see I got a list or an array of emojis that I got. So basically the script will randomly choose an emoji and it's going to display in my bash prompt like this. So if I, for example, open a new terminal, I get another emoji like this. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So you can configure your bash RC to, customize your bash prompt. It's really easy. You can just Google it. Welcome to the stream, Jared. I'm glad you like my videos. I appreciate it. I think I have to give up as I haven't opened my laptop in a long time. My mind has stopped working. Jitendra Kumar, believe me, I've been in those situations as well, but yeah, you just have to keep going, Have you studied from IIT? No, I went to VIT Chennai. Cybersecurity roadmap. Well, I'm actually creating a cybersecurity course, so it will be out soon, maybe in a month or so. It's going to be like a full ethical hacking course. Like I'm trying to integrate or include everything in it for a beginner level. So yeah. How long will a stream go? Maybe an hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours. I don't know. Are you using only Linux or dual boot? I'm actually running it in VMware. It's a virtual machine. What do you choose after 12th? I chose integrated MTech in software engineering. I think that's the exact name of the course. It's basically a 5-year course. It's like BTech plus MTech integrated, Bro, how much you earn before and after OSCP? Well, I'm still studying, so my primary income is basically from YouTube and content creation. I do have a really good news to share with you guys, hopefully soon. But for now, I'm not going to share it. But yeah, hopefully soon I'll be able to share a very good news with you guys. Is the course paid? It is going to be a paid course, but I'm also planning to make a mini version of it, which is going to be free. Okay, I think it's 7:30. Should we start? Let me see if I can read some more chat messages. Yesterday I was doing bug hunting and trying to SQL on the login page of the target, but I can't access the page admin. Yeah, that's probably because you were blocked by the firewall. Most companies have a firewall. For example, if they use Cloudflare, so after you make let's say a malicious attempt, after you send a malicious request, your IP is going to be flagged and you're going to be given a timeout. Yeah, it's basically teaching penetration testing. So yeah, it would be a really good value addition if you took the course, because it's going to teach you from a beginner's perspective, and it's going to take you somewhere around somewhere around a medium level. So it's going to be a really good thing if you're looking to start penetration testing. I guess YouTube does not promote cybersecurity. I agree with you, and that is actually the reason why I'm making this course. Do you know Plesk Obsidian? I know Obsidian. What is Plesk? I use Obsidian actually. I use it all the time to take my notes. It's really cool. Actually, I used Obsidian a lot when I'm preparing for OSCP. It's really good. What do you do nowadays? I'm actually doing my master's in the US, and currently I'm in India for the summer vacation, and I'll be back to the US soon. Is CSC any good for pen testing? Of course. Well, you can't just there's no thing like entering, pen testing without any prerequisites, right? Pen testing is kind of like a advanced topic, and in order to pursue it, you need to do a lot of things before, so you can understand how to do stuff. So yeah, CSC. I'm not saying CSC is mandatory to do pen testing, but it helps. Definitely helps. I'm actually doing my CSC in masters. I'm masters in CSC. Sorry about that. Right now, and I also already have a master's in software engineering from VIT Chennai. Tips for beginner bug bounty hunters. Honestly, I'm not the correct person to ask that, because I'm not a bug bounty hunter. What we will do today, we are going to hack some hack the box machines. Okay, I guess it's 7:33, so let's start. So we're gonna start with this machine here, which is an easy machine, and then maybe we'll move on to a medium difficulty machine. We are not going to do any hard difficulty machines today, because this is going to be a short stream, and yeah, I just wanted to do one easy and one medium, or two easy and one medium. Let's see. So this is actually Hack the Box. For those of you who don't know, this is like a platform where you can access some vulnerable machines that are designed to teach you penetration testing. I guess you guys already know, because it's pretty popular among the cybersecurity and penetration testing community, right? So I actually have the VIP subscription to Hack the Box, because technically I cannot show you, or I cannot hack live machines on live, because you can see there are two kinds of machines. One is called active machines, one is called retired machines. Active machines are the machines that are currently in the competitive queue. So if you were to solve some of these active machines, you get points, right? So it's kind of like a competitive thing. And I cannot go through any of these active machines, because obviously we don't want to leak. We don't want others to just copy the flags and get points, right? So that's why I'm only allowed to do retired machines. So we're going to start with this one, which is a relatively, I think it's the newest retired machine. It's called Headless. It's a Linux machine, and it's an easy machine, so it's a good place to start. So I also think this is actually free to use. Let me see. Yeah, this is free to use. So that basically means you don't need to have a VIP subscription to access this machine. So that's a good news. Usually when you want to access retired machines, you have to purchase a VIP subscription, and only then you can access those machines. But it looks like there's a new update or something on Hack the Box, because I've never seen this before. So you can access this machine for free without a subscription. Anyway, let me go ahead and spawn this machine up. I am already connected to my VPN. Let me connect to it again, just in case. All right. So the machine is spawned up, and we are good to go. Let me see. I'm gonna make a new thing called live, and I'm gonna create, what's the name of the machine? It's Headless. All right. Why connecting with VPN while doing hack the box? Well, all these machines are, it's not like a normal machine. Like it's not like NordVPN or ProtonVPN or stuff like that. This is actually a VPN that gives you access into the internal network of hack the box where these machines are hosted. So you cannot access these machines from an internet connection. You have to connect to their internal network for obvious reasons. They're not going to host vulnerable machines on the public facing internet, right? So you have to use this VPN. Basically what this VPN does is it tunnels or routes all your traffic to the hack the box internal network where the machines are routed. I hope that explains it. Okay, yeah, anyway, so we have the target IP address. Basically this is the IP address of the machine. So the first step is to obviously perform a recon to basically see what ports and what services are running on the machine so that we can figure out a way to exploit it, right? So this is the IP address that we can use. This is the internal IP address. If you can see, it starts with 10.10. So it's an internal IP address. And this is the IP that we use to connect to the machine. So I'm going to copy this. And I actually have a script that I use every time when I do penetration testing. So I set the IP address of the target machine and then my IP address inside the internal network, which can be seen here, which is 10.10.14.16. You can see it if you go to ifconfig. Sorry about that. Just give me a second. So yeah, as I was saying, so ifconfig will actually show you all the network interfaces that are installed on your machine, and we will look at ton 0. This is the VPN tunnel that is connected to the hack the box internal network, and you can see this is my internal IP address. So I'm using this command right here. And what it basically does is it just sets some environment variables. Let me hit enter and let me show you. So this is going to write two environment variables, MIP and IP. This is just a script that I've written. I mean, it's just more convenient to store the IP address inside environment variables like this. So if I just echo out MIP, it's going to print out the machine's IP address. So you don't have to write this IP address again and again, right? Oh, actually it's the wrong IP address. So I guess we have to refresh it. So refresh is another alias command that I use. It's going to basically load bash rc again, and that's going to update the environment variables. So if I go echo MIP again, this is the IP address of the machine. So it's kind of convenient to store the IP address as an environment variable because you don't have to write it again and again. You can just reference this environment variable inside commands and you're good to go. Yeah, I can actually, let me see. Where is this file? Let me search in bash rc. I guess it's in here. I guess it's in this part. Yeah, so this is the script that I've written. Let me actually quickly show you what it does. Yeah, it's a simple Python program. Basically, it takes two command line arguments, which is MIP, which stands for machine IP address, and IP, which is just my internal IP address. And it's just going to write those to two different files inside the temp directory, machine underscore IP and my underscore IP. It's going to write these things into these files, and the reason for doing that is when bash rc is called, which means whenever you open a new terminal, it's going to, you can see here, it's going to set the environment variables from the files that are created by the script. So yeah, it's a really simple script, convenient thing, right? But anyways, enough of my yapping. So what would be the first step of our recon? Can anyone comment in the comment section? What should we do first? We have the IP address of the machine. So how should we get started? Nmap, that's the correct answer. So I'm gonna do an nmap scan, and nmap followed by the IP address of the machine. So once again, I'm just using the environment variable because I set the environment variable, right? And I'm gonna use SV and SC. SV is going to enumerate the version numbers of the open ports. For example, let's say if the target has a web HTTP port 80, right? We also want to enumerate what the version of the web server is, right? So the SV command tries to enumerate and find out the version, and SC command is going to execute some nmap scripts, some common nmap scripts for the discovered ports, so you can find more information about them. So these are the two flags that I always use while performing nmap. There are lots of other flags that you can use, you can customize it, but initially I get started with these two flags. They're really helpful. And then I'm going to save that output to a file called nmap scan. So let me run that. Fuzzing, well, fuzzing can also be the first step, but it would be better if you, in order to fuzz something, you need to know what is running on the target, right? And how do you know that? You basically observe what ports are open, and based on the ports that are opened, you can kind of get an idea on what to fuzz, right? So yeah, that's a valid answer, but you know, nmap should be the first step. Anyway, so this is going to take a little bit time. So what I usually like to do is I like to use a script called nmap auto. Nmap auto is basically an automation script written in nmap. It's really popular on GitHub. So I basically give it the host that I want to scan, MIP, and then I select the scan type, which is recon. The reason I do this is because it's very much faster than running nmap normally, right? So look at this. Immediately we got what ports are opened. We have 22 and 5000. These are the two ports that are opened, right? So it's very much faster. It is basically nmap, but it's an automation script. It makes it run faster, and it allows you to do different other things. So yeah, you can also see that the reason it's faster is probably because we are not, I mean, the nmap auto script is not using the SV and the SC flags that we used. It's just enumerating and discovering the ports. It's not trying to find the version numbers. It's not trying to run basic scripts and everything. Oh, my face is preventing. Oh, my bad. Let me switch that. So yeah, it's a quick way to do this, but I usually do nmap auto to get like quick results, to know quickly about what ports are running. But I keep my nmap scan running in the background because this is going to give you much more information than just running nmap auto, than just getting a default port scan with nmap auto. So I'm gonna let this run. Oh, actually, you know what? The scan is completed, and this is the results that we got. So once again, the same thing. We have port 22, which is SSH, and port 5000, and it says that it is an UPnP port, but I think that's a false positive because this looks like a web server to me. You can see this is the output that is generated because we are using the SC flag. So basically, there is this nmap script called fingerprint settings, and this nmap script was executed on the port 5000, which was discovered as open by nmap. And that is the reason why we use SC. It gives you a lot more insight into your open ports, right? So that is the reason we use those. So we got 22 SSH and 5000. It says it's UPnP, but I don't think it's UPnP. It's HTTP because this is the response that nmap got. So usually I take notes in Obsidian, but I'm gonna take notes in Sublime Text to keep it simple for this video. So the first thing I'm going to note here is the nmap scan. I'm going to paste all this output here to my Sublime Text. Okay, now let's look more closely into the output that nmap gave us, right? So I already see something interesting here. Can you guys actually, did you guys actually notice anything interesting in the output that nmap gave? Because I can certainly see something valuable here. So I'm gonna leave it to you guys to find out what valuable information we got from this nmap scan. It's the 5000 port. The 22 port doesn't really have anything that is interesting, but there is something interesting in the 5000 port that nmap was able to generate. Can you guys guess what it is? Host key? Oh, you mean the cookie? Yeah, that is an interesting thing, but I was looking at something else. The cookie, there is a cookie called is_admin, and by the looks of it, it looks like JWT. No, I don't think it's JWT, but it looks like it's base 64 encoded. That is an interesting thing. But I'm looking at something else. Well, I'm not looking at something that is aggressively that screams aggressive, but it's a really interesting, or it's a really important step when you're doing recon. Cookie is definitely one of those, but I'm looking at something else. Is_admin, no, is_admin is the cookie. It is a valuable information, but that's not what I was looking at. Server, that's right. So you can see there is a header called server, which basically tells you the web server that is running and its version as well. And to me, that's a really valuable information, because softwares are vulnerable, right? So if you don't update your software to the latest version, you might actually be vulnerable. And for all we know, this version of the web server, Workzug, I think that's how you pronounce it. But yeah, this version of the web server that is running can be vulnerable. We just got the version number of it. So that's a really good find. So all I have to do now is I'm gonna copy that, go back to Google, and I'm gonna paste that and say exploit. And it looks like that server has exploits. Let me open this. So .2.2.2, that is exactly the version that we have here with us. And it says that it is vulnerable to a remote code execution vulnerability. So let me open this up. exploit.db is basically a really good resource for penetration testers. It basically contains POC scripts to exploit different publicly disclosed vulnerabilities, and it looks like we got a vulnerability for the web server that is running on the target. Or we can use searchsploit. That's another option. If you know more, if you want to do a more terminal search, if you don't want to use your browser, you can do searchsploit. Let me show you that as well. So searchsploit, and then you can just paste that. It doesn't show any results, but if I just eliminate the version number, it does show you the thing. Debug shell command execution, that is the exact same exploit that we are looking at in exploit.db. Searchsploit is basically the terminal the command line version of exploitdb.com. But anyway, this is the it looks like the exploit for our particular version. So yeah, let me go ahead and try this script. It's a Python script. So usually before I go ahead and blindly execute this Python script, it's always a good practice to go through the script. You don't have to understand every single thing, every minute detail, but you can just go through it, kind of like skim through it to understand what it's broadly doing, to see that you don't break anything on the web server. For example, you don't want to execute a script that does a DDoS or something like that, or you don't want to execute a script that that's a malware, right? So it's good to go through it, and from the looks of it, it looks like it is trying to send a request to /console endpoint, and it's trying to send a payload to it, so it doesn't look malicious to me. I'm gonna go ahead and exploit it. I'm gonna run it, so let me go ahead and create a file called exploit.py. Paste that there. And how do I use it? There is actually a usage comment here that tells you how to use it. So Python exploit.py, this looks like the IP address of the target, this looks like the port where that thing is running, and this looks like the reverse shell IP address, right? So before I execute that, I obviously need a reverse shell. So let me do that. I'll start one with netcat and lvnp. I'll start a port. I'll start a reverse shell on 1560, and let me go ahead and run that exploit script. It should be the machine IP address followed by the port, which is 5000, and then the IP address, my IP address where I want to catch the reverse shell, and the port where that IP address where the reverse shell is listening on. Okay, it looks like that's Python, that's written in Python 2. So let me modify that command. Python 2 MIP 5000 IP 1560. Well, I forgot to mention the name of the script. Let me do that again. 5000 IP 1560. Interesting. So clearly that did not work because it says debug is not enabled. So let's cross check that. Let's go through the script. And it looks like the first thing that it is doing is it's going to /console, right? So let me go to /console. I'm going to use Firefox for this. HTTP // slash console. Oh, I don't want to use HTTPS there. What? What's happening with my Firefox? Oh, the port. Okay, it looks like this endpoint does not exist, and that might be the reason why that exploit script is not working. Because it looks like in order for this exploit to work, the target must have debug enabled. And I'm guessing if debug was enabled in the target, if you go to slash console, it should not display not found. It should display a console looking at the name. So it looks like the debug is not enabled, and so I don't think that exploit actually works here. So what should we do next? Any suggestions on what I should do next? Metasploit also would not work, because Metasploit is basically going to do the same thing as this Python script. So if what I mean to say is, if the debug is not enabled, even Metasploit is not going to work. Fuzz to see if console is another directory. That actually looks like a really good idea. Ghost. That's a really good suggestion. So let me do that actually. Let me go. Maybe I should use GoBuster or Fuzz. I'll use GoBuster. So I'll do a directory enumeration, and HTTP machine IP address, port is 5000. I always get the commands wrong. I should mention the -u flag first, right? MIP colon 5000, and I'm going to use the word list, one of the dirbuster word list. Oh wait, user share word list and dirbuster, and I always use this thing, directory list 2.3 medium.txt. That always brought good news to me whenever I use this word list. So I always start with this word list, and if I am not able to find anything interesting, I try other word lists. So I'm going to use this word list again, and let's see if you get anything interesting in there. Actually, we did not go to the actual web page itself. Oh, we can actually see a web page here. Welcome to our website. We're working hard to bring you an amazing online experience. For questions, if I click on that, it redirected me to /support, and it looks like there's a contact form here. So the first thing that comes into my mind whenever I see a contact form or any form is to see if, when I submit this form, if it is sending any request to the server, because there are some forms that don't do anything. So I just want to make sure that this form is actually functional. It is actually sending something to the server. So let me do that. Test. So I opened my inspect, or I think these are called developer tools in Firefox. So if you come to this network tab, it's going to show you all the requests and responses that your browser is sending out and receiving back from the web server. So it's a really convenient way of seeing what you are actually sending to the web server. So if I click on submit, oh, look at that. It looks like it is actually sending some stuff to the web server. It looks like it is sending a post request to /support, and it is sending this data to the support endpoint. And the response that we got after sending that is the contact form again. We are not shown any new page, but we know that a request is being sent to the server with the details that we put inside the form, right? So that is an interesting finding, because, well, now we know that we are actually able to send something to the server. We can maybe test for SQL injection or XSS, something like that, right? Why is the directory enumeration important in the context of web security? Because usually when you go to a website, you see its home page, but there might be different other directories or endpoints on the website that are hidden, that are not usually publicly available, right? So in order to uncover those hidden directories, you do the directory enumeration. So you basically take a word list that contains all the common endpoints for a website, and you use a tool like GoBuster or FUF to test if each endpoint from the word list exists. So the tool that you use, for example, GoBuster, is going to send a request to all the possible endpoints that it is taking from the word list, and it's going to see if it got any interesting response from the web server. And by looking at the response, we can tell if that directory exists on the web server, or if there is anything interesting on that directory. So yeah, short answer, you can basically uncover hidden directories with fuzzing or directory enumeration. So if you go back to the directory enumeration here, we got two endpoints. Support is something that we already looked at, but there is another new endpoint called dashboard. That also sounds interesting, but you can see the status is 500. So I doubt we are going to see anything interesting in there. So if I go to dashboard, apparently we are unauthorized. The server could not verify you are authorized to access the URL requested. You either supply the wrong credentials, or your browser doesn't understand how to supply. So it looks like we need some kind of credentials or an access token or something like that to go to /dashboard. In other words, it's not available to unauthenticated users. So that's something that we can keep in mind. What is the purpose of specifying the word list in the GoBuster command? Well, it's going to basically tell the tool GoBuster to use that particular word list. So any word list contains a list of common strings, right? For example, in this case, since we are doing directory enumeration, the word list that I'm using contains a list of endpoints or directories that usually exist on a website. Find login.php or whatever related to that. That's another interesting idea. We can find login.php, but how do you know it's PHP? We don't know that that the backend is running PHP yet, but that's an idea that we can try. So what do you guys think I should do next? You guys have any suggestions? Because we already know that if you submit some information on this form, it's being sent to the server. So we are able to send data to the server, right? So what do you think we should do? Robots.txt, I don't think we have robots.txt, because if we did, it should have come up in the directory enumeration really quick, because that's one of the earlier entries in the word list. But let's try that. I'm down to try it. Let's go to robots.txt. Nope, it doesn't exist. Fuzz or SQLi, SQL inject. Interesting. That's yeah, we can try to inject an SQL command. Any other suggestion? But for SQL injection, login parameter is necessary. That's not true. Let's try to understand how an SQL injection vulnerability would exist if it existed here, right? So you're basically, this is, what is it intended to do? What is this form intended to do? It's intended to submit a support ticket or something like that to the company or the website. So just think from the perspective of the company who made this website, right? A user puts in the details like first name, last name, email, phone number, and message, and he clicks on submit, and it's going to be sent to the backend, to the employees, so that they can see the support ticket, right? So it has to be saved somewhere. The information that is sent by the user has to be saved somewhere, and it's probably saved in a database. So if the data is being saved on the database, it means that there is SQL in the backend, and the data is being inserted into an SQL statement. So there could be a potential SQL injection vulnerability that might exist here. SQL injection can be used to extract data or just change on the database. It can be used to do both. That's a good question, Onkar Gupta. So basically it depends on how SQL is configured on the back end. For example, based on the use case, some SQL user accounts can be configured to only read data from a database, but some may be configured to even modify the database, like inserting, updating, deleting, etc. So it depends on the configuration. Check the directory script, it may find another things. Apparently not. It did not find anything else, and I don't think we're going to find any other endpoint here. So let's try to make a note of where we are, right? So what are the things that we can do? As you guys said, we can try SQL injection on the contact form, or as Atharva said, we can use GoBuster in combination with other tools like Nito did B or W first to get a comprehensive overview of the web server structure. So you're basically, I think you're suggesting use a different tool other than GoBuster. Use a different tool / word list, I guess. That's what you're suggesting. And someone else suggested to use Nikto. So we can try, we can use Nikto as well. More recon is only option, I think, right now. Well, I mean, we kind of have like an opportunity to exploit, right? Because yeah, we can try for SQL injection, right? Because we know that the data is being sent to the servers. Let's actually try the SQL injection thing. I'm gonna open up burp suite, intercept on, configure the proxy. Let me try that again. So I'm gonna send this to repeater, and let me try to inject an SQL payload. So this is like kind of one of the basic SQL payloads that you can think of. Single quote followed by or 1 equal to 1, and then comment out the rest of the thing. It's like the basic thing. So let me try that. Let me go to render and see what it does. It did not do anything. We did not get any interesting response back. What if you change the well, what if you don't URL encode it? I think we need to URL encode it, because that would just break it. Yeah, we need to URL encode it. But let me use a different comment. Nope, nothing. Maybe let's try to inject it somewhere else. Let's try to inject it in last name. Nope. Let's try admin. Well, the thing is, we don't have a login page, or at least we did not discover a login page until now. So we do not know where to try admin, right? Because we don't have a login page. Use dictionary for SQLi. Interesting. We can do that. Or we can just use SQL map. That would be a lot easier than using a dictionary for SQLi. XSS, that's another interesting idea. We have SSH as well. That's true. So we can also try to brute force SSH, but I don't think that's going to work, to be honest with you. I mean, we can try brute forcing SSH if we know the usernames, but we don't even know the username. So we have to brute force both the username and the password. And I don't think that's going to work. I mean, we can try it, but I don't think it's going to give us any good results. HTB link, which link? It's HTB, what's the name of the machine? Headless, HTB headless. Let me actually pin that in chat. SSH only have 3 attempts. That's true. Based on the configuration, we might also we might also be limited on how many wrong attempts that we make. Oh, let me actually. But yeah, Dynamic suggested that we can try XSS, and I like the sound of it. If that doesn't work, we can go back to SQL injection and we can try to use SQL map, or we can try to use an SQL injection payload word list to see the different things. So yeah, let's go ahead and try the XSS thing, right? Script alert 1 script. Once again, a very basic XSS payload. Let's see what it gives us. Interesting. We got something different this time. Hacking attempt detected. Your IP address has been flagged and a report with your browser information has been sent to the administrators for investigation. Client request information, and it's basically, this is basically the request headers, right? Let me cross check that. Host, user agent, accept encoding. Yeah, it looks like the request header. So this request headers are actually, as it says by this page, are being sent to the administrators for investigation. So we now know that whenever you try to make a hacking attempt by injecting an XSS payload, it's going to trigger some kind of what do you say, a firewall. I don't know if I should call it a firewall, but it's going to send all the request headers of the malicious request, and it's going to send it to the investigators or to the administrators. That's actually, it might sound like it does not have anything valuable, but I think it's interesting because we are able to send data to the administrators, right? Because whenever you send a malicious request with the XSS payload, it's being sent, it's being saved, it's being flagged, it's being the request headers are being sent to the administrators. So we have a way of giving something to the administrators. What if we can inject the things, right? Inject things that we are able to send to the administrator. In this case, we are able to send the request headers to the administrator. So we can actually try to inject a payload in the request headers so that when it is shown to the administrator, we can maybe try to do something interesting. Because from the looks of it, it looks like the request headers are being sent to the administrator, and hopefully if this information is being displayed in the web browser of the administrator, that means we can potentially inject an XSS payload, right? Because a web browser, if this information right here, this client request information, the request headers, if they are being displayed on the administrator's browser, we can potentially inject an XSS payload, and we can steal a cookie, because we know that there is a cookie called isAdmin. And if I actually copy this and decode it with base 64, may copy it, go to decoder, decode as base 64, you can see that there is a string called user. So that basically tells us that the cookie determines if the current user is if the current user is a normal user or if it's an administrator. So yeah, we can try to steal the cookie of the administrator who are looking at this information with XSS. Does that make any sense? I mean, I'm not sure it will work, but that's just the thought that I got on the top of my head when I saw this. We getting SSH user. How do you want to get the SSH user? Do you have any thoughts on or any suggestions on how you want to get the SSH user? Header injection, yeah, that's what I was talking about. We can basically inject an XSS payload in the headers, in the request headers, because we know that these request headers are being sent to the administrator. So if this information is displayed on the browser of the administrator, we can potentially get an XSS payload to work and steal the cookies of the administrator. Maybe that's what I was thinking. Look for GoBuster again. I don't think we're going to find any new endpoints here. Yeah, let's go ahead and explore that idea. So I'm going to create another request header. I'm going to call it XSS, and here I will insert a script tag, an XSS payload script. And inside that we want to insert an XSS payload, and I want to try to see if we can steal the cookies of the administrator. So I'm gonna write something like window.location.href to basically redirect the administrator to a web server that we will host. So let me host a web server, HTTP server. Once again, this is just an alias command to start a Python web server. So you can do it like this. You can say python3 m http.server, and that's going to do the same thing. It's basically the alias to this command right here. I just have some alias to make things convenient, but yeah. So this is a web server. We started a web server. So what I can do here is I can redirect the administrator to my web server, http :/ followed by my IP address, which is 10.10.14.16 : 8000, because that is where the web server is running, and /stolen equal to, and to this URL I can append document.cookie, which should contain the cookie of the current web page of the administrator. So let's actually cross check it. If I go to the support page, if I go to inspect console, let's see if we can access the cookie with document.cookie. Yes, document.cookie is returning the is_admin cookie and its value. So that's well, if it works, if the XSS works, then that script must work as well. So basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to redirect the administrator with window.location.href equal to I'm trying to redirect him or her to my web server, which is hosted locally, and to this URL I'm appending the document.cookie, which should contain the cookie of the administrator. So let me try that. we got a hacking attempt detected. That's a good thing, because now we know that our request headers are sent to the administrator, but we did not get any hit on our web server. So you can see these are the headers that are sent, and you can also see XSS. This request header is the header that contains the XSS payload. Oh, wait a minute. We got a hit. Would you look at that? That looks like the cookie. Is it my cookie or is it the admin's cookie? Let me compare that. No, it definitely is not my cookie. So it should be someone else's, and I'm guessing it's the administrator's cookie. It took a little bit of time, maybe because there was an automation script running in the background that is sending the request headers to the administrator and simulating the process. But yeah, we finally got it. We got the cookie, and we can basically use this cookie to well, now that we have the cookie, what should we do next? Let me copy that, and let me actually change my current cookie with the admin's cookie. And before that, let's actually cross check if this is actually the administrator. So I'm going to go to decoder, paste it here, and yeah, it looks like the admin's cookie. You can see admin right here. Interesting. So I'm going to change my cookie with the cookie that we stole, save it, and let me refresh this page, resend it. I don't see anything different. Go to dashboard. Oh yeah, we actually found a dashboard, right? What if you go to dashboard? Would you look at that? We got access to the dashboard. We are in. We hacked into the mainframe. That's a good callback, actually. I forgot that we found a dashboard endpoint. I completely forgot about that. That's a really good callback. Let's see what this is doing. Okay, it looks like we can choose a date, and we can click on generate report, and it just comes back with this message that says systems are up and running. Oh, let me go back to burp suite, intercept this, and let me send this to repeater. What if we give something else other than the date? It still comes back with the same message, even though if the input is not a valid date. It says systems are up and running. Dir search it? That's an interesting idea. So you want to dir search the dashboard endpoint? Okay, I like that idea. Let's do that. But we also need to set the cookie, right? How do we do that? I think we can do that with FUF, I think. Let's see. You mean the entire website? Well, we already did a directory enumeration on the entire website, and we only found 2 pages, support and dashboard. So what do you guys think I think I should do next? Should we did search after this, like /dashboard/ followed by the directory search? First, for special characters, you mean in the date parameter? Yeah, we can do that. I'm just thinking how I should do it. Should we use FUF, or should we just use, what is it called, intruder or something? Intruder, is it called intruder? I don't use verb suit that much. There should be a way to brute force this. Use the intruder. Okay. Intruder. Okay, payloads. Can I just choose from a list of predefined things like character blocks? I don't know what that is. Brute forcer. Or maybe we'll just add a list here. Let's see if we can have anything for any word list for injection. Car.txt. Let's see what that is about. Huh? There's something wrong with my keyboard. When I hit the left arrow, it just prints out this thing. I'm gonna have to. Cat.txt is basically just A to Z, so I don't think that's going to give us anything interesting. Let's try other things. Special chars. Do we have a special chars? Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Can I just copy this into thing like that? No, that's just going to treat it as one entry. Oh. Click paste. Okay. Let's see. Well, it looks like 2203 is common response. Systems are up and running. We got two things. So it's 2175 and 2203. 2203 is just saying systems are up and running. 2175, what does it say? Oh, it doesn't say anything. It does not say anything. Am I reading it right? Yeah. That is interesting because we definitely found something. We just don't know what we found yet. Let's see. Command injection? That might be the case actually, because yeah, that might actually be the case, because these characters which got the length 2175, if there was a command injection, if these characters were appended to the command in the back end, that it would break the whole command, and that might be why we are not getting any response here. Well, it's worth a try. Let's try that actually. I'm gonna go back to repeater, and I'm gonna give try this command injection. Just try the basic thing, I guess. Who am I? Render. Oh, this is something new. Looks like we are able to see the username. I'm pretty sure this DVIR is not there before. Let me cross check that. That looks like command injection to me. Looks like we are able to inject commands. Yep, that looks like the username. Who am I is going to return the username. That looks like the username. Interesting. Let's see the current working directory. Yep, that's definitely the thing. Home DVIR/app. That's the present working directory. So we have command injection. Congratulations to ourselves. So now that we have command injections, we can basically execute commands. So I'm obviously going to go with a reverse shell, no questions asked. Revshells.com. I don't know how many of you guys know about this website. It's called the reverse shell generator. It's basic. It's a really cool tool. You can generate reverse shells for different platforms, different services. So I'm just gonna put in my IP address here, which is 10.10.14.16, and I'm gonna put it on the port 1560. Make sure that my reverse shell listener is up and running. Now listening on port 1560. So let's target /bin/bash. I use Hacker Tools extension. Oh, does it do the same thing? I've never heard of it. So let's try this. My listener is up and running. Let me go ahead and paste this here. I think I have to URL encode it so that it doesn't break the request. Let's see. You got nothing back? Okay. You got nothing back. Let's try another thing, huh? Be nice if you can run it locally in Docker image, since RevShells has locks. I don't think it has locks because everything is being done on the browser by the JavaScript. It's not sending anything to the server. So it's all rendered on the browser, and the reverse shells are generated on the browser. So yeah, nothing is being sent to the server. Well, let me try something else. Usually, I've experienced this before, because sometimes when this payload doesn't work, it would be good if you can enclose it inside a bash command like this, because the backend may not know what to do with this command. So when you do something like this, bash-c, it knows that you want it to execute with bash, and this is the command that you want it to execute. And I've actually noticed in many hack-the-box machines before, when this does not work, I usually do this, and it usually works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but it depends. But if this doesn't work as well, we might have to look at other ways to get the reverse shell. Like maybe we can see if Python is installed. If Python is installed, we could go to Python 3, so we can use this payload, and obviously it only works if Python is installed. So anyway, let me try this thing. URL encoded, don't forget that's really important. Click on send. We did not get any response. That's interesting, because that means our reverse shell worked. We now have a reverse shell. Awesome. So if I say who am I, we already know the username is going to be dvir, because we executed who am I in burp suite before. So we are at /home/dvir/app. Let's see what other files exist here. By the way, how do you URL encode it? You can just highlight the text that you want to encode and press Ctrl U. That's a shortcut in burp suite to URL encode it, or you can just URL encode it with an external software. So we have some files, some source code files by the looks of it, and report.sh. It looks like this is the script that made this vulnerability possible, I guess. Yeah. bin/bash ecosystems are up and running. This is the same message that we saw when we clicked on generate reports on the dashboard. So it looks like it's just a bash script, and it's just printing out this string. I don't know what. It doesn't have any other functionality, man. That's weird. But I'm guessing the way we are able to exploit the command injection vulnerability is that somewhere in the app.py, report.sh is being called with the parameter, which is the date. So it's being directly appended after report.sh, and that obviously led to command injection. I think that's how we got in. I'm very much certain that's how we got it. So I don't know the need of this report.sh script, because it doesn't have any interesting thing. It just prints out a string. So yeah, anyway, we are in now. Let's see if we have user.txt. Before that, let me see if there are any other interesting files which might contain sensitive information like passwords. So inspect reports.py, it looks like it's using Selenium. Oh, I think this is where the administrator would look at the flagged request headers, right? That is how we were able to steal the cookies. So I think this is the script that does that. It's going to open up that thing. It's going to go to the hacking reports thing, which is going to display the request headers where we injected our XSS payload, and that's how we stole that, the admin cookie. Try sudo -l. That's a really good idea. Let me try that. Sudo -l. It looks like we can execute /user/bin/syscheck without a password as root. Let's actually find out what this file is. Is it a binary? Is it a ASCII? It's an ASCII text executable, so it's probably a bash script. Let me read that. Okay, it might be hard to read, so usually what I do is when I see scripts inside reverse shells, they are not properly formatted, so I basically take it to Sublime Text, start a code block, define it as bash, and paste it here. Now it's very much easier to look at and understand. So let's look at what this script does. So it's checking if EUID is not equal to 0. Well, EUID is going to be 0 if this particular script is being executed as root. So if I execute it as user bin syscheck, I should be able to execute as sudo because we got that privilege. Well, it looks like it's basically doing a syscheck, last kernel modification, available disk space, all that. But if I don't execute it with sudo, it's not going to print anything, and that's because it's checking the EUID. If it's equal to 0, then it's just exiting. So let's try to understand this this script right here. Last modified time, it's using find to see to read some files. Nothing interesting here. Formatted time, it's using user bin date to get the time. Kernel modified time, disk space. Well, it's a good thing. Not a good thing from the perspective of the hacker, but the one who wrote the code, who wrote this particular code, they did a good job because they are using absolute paths and not relative paths. Absolute paths are basically full paths. So /user/bin/dir. This is an absolute path or a full path. If they used a relative path, it would be possible to exploit it. Load average is using uptime, pgrep initdb.sh. Okay, so it looks like it's checking if a script called initdb.sh is running with the help of the pgrep binary, and if it is not running, it's printing out database service is not running, starting it, and then it's starting the initdb.sh. And this is what I was talking about earlier. This right here is not an absolute path. That's a relative path. and you should not use relative paths when in your scripts, especially when a script is can be run as root, because well, what it's really hard to explain. What this basically does is it's going to run for initdb.sh. It's going to run a script called initdb.sh, which is in the current directory. So since this is a relative path, we can create this script at any directory that we have write access to. And when we run this script, it's going to try to run initdb.sh in the current directory. So we can actually create a malicious file and place it somewhere where we have write permissions, and we can execute this whole script, this syscheck script, from the same directory where this initdb.sh script exists, and that will make our malicious script to run, because this is a relative path. I hope it makes sense. What directory are you in right now? I mean, this is currently in I'm currently in /app. Let's see if I have permissions to write into it. Well, I can write into this the current directory, which is at home/dware/app. As we can edit that binary, why not run a shell? What do you mean? Which binary? Do you mean the syscheck binary? I don't think we can edit the syscheck binary. Let me check. User bin syscheck. Yeah, we cannot edit it. You can see it's created by root, and other users cannot edit it. They can only read it. The only privilege that we have over this file is that we can run this script, or if it's a binary, we can run this binary as root with sudo, because you can see in the sudo configuration we can run this particular script without a password as root with sudo. So yeah, let's actually go ahead and do that, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to say echo bin bash, so that when the initdb.sh script is executed, it's being executed with bash. This is called a shebang line, basically. So it basically tells what to use to execute that particular script. In this case, we are writing bash code, so we want it to execute with the bash runtime. And a new line character, and let me just make bin bash as an SUID binary. So by doing that, if you make the bin bash as a SUID binary, you have root. Basically, you can run bin bash as root. And let me copy that, or let me write that to initdb.sh, which is the name of the script. I think, is that the right name? Where is it? Yeah, initdb.sh. This is the name of the script. So we are basically creating a malicious initdb.sh. I think I should use the E flag and single quotes to make this work, to get rid of the formatting errors with echo. Try that again. Bin bash \n chmod u plus s, which is going to make bin bash as suid, and I'll write all that to initdb.sh. I forgot to close the single quote, so let me do that again. Perfect. Yep, this is exactly what I wanted. So we're basically executing a chmod command that's going to make /bin/bash as suid, because once you have made that as suid, it's going to we can basically run it as root. So let's do that. So I'm going to say well, before I can actually go ahead and execute the syscheck thing, I need to make my initdb.sh as executable, because only then it can be executed. So I'll do that with chmod +x initdb.sh, and now it is executable. I can cross check that by saying lsl, and initdb.sh is now executable, as it's as mentioned by the X here. X means it's executable. Awesome. So I think this is the moment of truth. I can now go ahead and run user bin syscheck, and hopefully that should run our malicious file, which will make bash as a suid binary. So let's see. Okay, so it printed out database service is not running, this thing right here. So it definitely started, or at least tried to start, our initdb.sh script. So let's look at the permissions of bin bash, see if it's suid, and it's suid. S here means that bin bash is suid binary. And yeah, we are in. We escalated our privileges. So I can just go to bin/bash-p, and I'm now root. Who am I? I am root. We exploited the machine. Just like that. Awesome. So let's see. Oh, sorry. Why did I say cat? So cat dvar /user.txt, that's the user flag. Let me submit that. And then the root flag, root.txt, that's the root flag. Submit that. Just like that, we have pooned this machine. Can this video be saved on YouTube? I'm busy right now. Yeah, I can save that on YouTube. Let me see. Yeah, I can probably publish it after this live stream. So it's already been 1.5 hours since I started the stream. I did not expect that the first machine is going to take this much of time. So what should we do next? try any active directory. Not now, but maybe in the next stream, because that's going to take a lot of time. Another machine, Windows this time. Well, I was only planning on doing Linux today. We can do a Windows machine, but it's easily going to take another 2 hours, I think. What are you doing currently? Studying or work? Well, I'm studying. I'm doing masters in computer science. I have one more semester left. Dude, it is kind of difficult to make the right approach. How can I improve it? Well, that's a difficult question to answer. The short and naive answer would be to just keep doing, and you will learn it yourself. And that's what I did. Initially, when I started Hack the Box, I got stuck at many points. I had to look up write-ups to see what I did wrong, and I had to go from there. And I was not actually satisfied because it's not me technically who exploited that machine. I kind of adapted someone else's mindset to by reading their write-up. But yeah, I know it sucks, but you got to start somewhere. You can feel free to look at the write-ups, keep doing different machines, and keep looking at write-ups. And that's the good thing about your brain, right? It always tries to adapt to new things. So if you keep doing it, you will eventually get adapted. I'm not saying you will get answers to all the questions, but you will know what to do next. And that's a really important thing. Why is this marked as easy? Because it's kind of straightforward if you think about it. It did not involve many steps. I followed John Hammond's walkthrough to crack my first machine and try hack me. Yeah, John Hammond is a really good content creator. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment now. I'm probably gonna do a little bit Q&A and end the stream here. What plan do you have on HTB? I have the VIP plan. Is ADCS required for OSCP? What is ADCS? I've never heard of that abbreviation before. Can you expand on it? Namaste, bye. Vaidya. Active Directory certificate servers. Well, the machines I did on OSCP did not involve that. Here's the thing about OSCP. OSCP does not dive deep into Active Directory. It does have Active Directory, but it's only until like beginner to medium level. It definitely is not advanced Active Directory pen testing. So yeah. Can you share OSCP notes or cheat sheet? I've completed till Linux proof escalation. How should I? I'm not allowed to. Well, maybe I can share my OSCP notes. But I can share my OSCP notes, but I think I'm not allowed to share my notes for the labs, the challenge labs. But Trust me, my notes are really not that good. You can find much better notes online. Do you have to do CEH before OSCP? No, you don't. I think CEH is more like theory based, and OSCP is a more hands-on exam. But doing CEH before OSCP may definitely help. I don't have a CEH, so I wouldn't know. Is there any way to view breached passwords for OSINT purpose? Yes. Well, there's this leak called the breach compilation. It's available publicly, so it's basically a torrent. You can copy that magnet, and then you can download that torrent, the magnet URL. You can download the torrent. I think it's maybe 10 gigs or something. So it's basically a compilation of all the breaches, and it's available for public use as well. So you can download it, write a script to search inside it. I think there already exists a script from TCMSec that does that. Yeah, you can find breach compilation on GitHub, at least the magnet link from which you can download it. And there is a script that is available on, I think, TCMSec's GitHub profile that you can use to search inside that breach compilation. And there are many websites as well where you can search for leaked passwords. There's this thing called breachdirectory.org. Yeah, I think it's breachdirectory.org, so you can make use of that website as well. I don't think it shows you the plain text password, but yeah, I think it shows you a masked version of the plain text password. But if you want a plain text password, then you have to download it yourself, because I don't think there exists a website, at least on the clear web, that does that. On dark web you can find many websites where you can search for breached passwords and other data. Currently learning about binary exploitation, etc., exploiting C code. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea, because that gives you a very low level understanding, which is always a good thing. It's always good to have a low level understanding of how things work. How did you use sudo without sudo pass? Well, it literally said there. Let me see if I have it here. So if I type sudo -l with the dvir user, it shows me, it tells me that the user can run the following commands without a password. So the configuration is basically set in a way that this user can only run this script or binary as root without the sudo password. So it's configured to do like that. And developers usually do this because for automation scripts, basically, because sometimes you want to execute some scripts or some binaries as root, but you don't have to be root to do that. You don't want to be root to do that. So you give exclusive permissions to other user accounts with configuration like this. And that's why I was able to run the script without the password. When I put sudo l in my Kali VM, it asks for password. Well, that is also the case. It also depends on how your thing is configured. I think by default it is configured to ask for a password, but for this machine, I think it's specifically turned off so that it can be vulnerable, so that people can exploit it. Can I go for OSCP straight without any prior experience with certification exams? Yeah, that's how I cleared OSCP. I had no prior certifications. I'm making notes for challenge labs, but I'm a bit tensed about the exam. Well, the exam is going to be very much similar to the challenge labs that you get. So if you are able to do your challenge labs without any hiccups, then you should be able to crack the exam as well. So I would say maybe do some labs with help from the community, but at least reserve two labs, like for example OSCP B and OSCP C, or any other. Well, not any other. Well, OSCP A, OSCP B, OSCP C are the three labs that have the same structure as the actual OSCP exam. So I would say at least reserve two of these labs, so that you do it without any help from the community, and this gives you a status update on how you are doing, right? Whether you are able to exploit these machines by yourself, if you need any work on any particular topic, all that stuff. So yeah, in simpler words, treat at least two labs as your mock exam experience. That will really help you a lot. Are you doing development now? I remember secure text live streams. No, I'm not doing any of that stuff right now. So yeah, do you think I should be continuing these live streams, like hacking the hack the box machines? I was planning on doing one live stream every week, because I think it's a really good experience for both you and me. It's a really interactive experience. Yeah, I think I'm gonna continue doing this, but next time we'll maybe do or upgrade to a medium level box. Let's see. Do you have any new relevant questions that I need to answer? Yeah, I guess I'll just end the live stream here. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you learned something new. I hope it was a good experience, a good interactive experience. So we're going to keep doing this and I'll meet you next week probably. And we'll do a harder machine next time, maybe a medium difficulty machine next time. So thanks for joining, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.